So we're located in the National Arboretum. It's about over 450 acres of green space. And within the Arboretum, this is actually what I call the heart of the Arboretum. This is the Washington Youth Garden, where we have a bunch of different gardens, including pollinator gardens, vegetable gardens, fruit trees, all kinds of things. Yeah, so this garden space we're in right now is about 1 acre. So about the size of a football field. It's relatively large and continuing to expand. This space right here is dedicated towards education and connecting young people to the land especially.
I am the board chair of Wangari Gardens. So we are currently on the corner of Park Place Northwest and Kenyon in Uptown, Washington, D.C. So this is actually 2.7 acres. And if you walk through the garden, you'll notice that we have a few sacred spaces within our space. We have a public garden that anybody in the community has access to, and anyone can come in and just grab, whether it's onions or lettuce or tomatoes whenever they're up and coming. We also have a fruit orchard in the back where we have all kinds of native trees like pawpaws that are native to this part of the Mid-Atlantic.
We're at Chickapin Gardens in the city of Alexandria. One of the nice things about the garden is the community that we have. It's a bunch of nice people, all with shared interests.
The gardeners are terrific about helping one another and sharing information about what worked or didn't work for them and helping each other.
I am one of the gardeners here at the Friendship Community Garden. We're in Upper Northwest DC, Ward 3, in AU Park. We have about 50 plots with, 60 people who are gardening in the plots. I have been here for 23 years. It's a really nice space to meet people who you have something in common, you're gardening. For me, being in the garden is very meditative, so I just enjoy coming over here. I even enjoy weeding, believe it or not, because it's just meditative and you're outside and you're listening to the birds as you can hear them now. And I see people walk through all the time and they always stop and want to chat. So the social aspect is really nice here.
So we are at the Rocking Horse Community Garden. This is in Rockville, but also some people consider it North Bethesda. A lot of people are growing herbs here. So your cilantro, your sage, your rosemary, your lavender, oregano, a lot of herbs.
We grow sugar cane, which is really fun. It's a very sweet treat, after the summer has gone. We grow kale, collards, a lot of cultural crops. So depending on what culture you're background from, we grow things like papalo. We grow Scotch bonnet peppers. So if you're a fan of hot peppers, we grow a ton of those.
No one is selling any of the goods. The idea is that when you buy into this community and decide to be a member of this community, you have this plot of land where you can grow your own food for you and your family.
So community garden, you don't have to start anything. Sometimes, yes, gardening has its easy points, but some of the hard points, maybe just getting started, is making sure you have the right materials, the cost of starting a new garden from scratch when you have to dig into the ground. Where when you come here, everything's already set for you. It's more like, how are you helping what's already existing in your community? There's so many community gardens in DC, and this is definitely a unique and beautiful space that you might not see in your average community garden. So depending on whether you're a teacher or just a volunteer, we have something a little bit for everyone. We even have summer jobs through our Green Ambassador programs with our students. We start at 14 and 15, and we partner with SYEP, the Summer Youth Employment Program. And so you could have a job here during the summer. If you're a teacher, we have what we call our Sprout field trips, which stands for a science program reaching out. And that's when students and teachers come in and they do a certain variety of themes that's garden related. And it could be anything from pollination to nutrition to garden basics.
I think one of the challenges that new gardeners face is they don't realize how much work it is. These plots are not that big. They're maybe, 15 by 20 feet, 300 square feet. But when they're full of weeds, it feels like an acre. And
when it's hot.
And when it's hot. I think this time of year, it's gorgeous. It's a great time to garden. But it'll get hotter in the summer, and some of them get discouraged and they'll actually give up. But We try to help them and encourage them in terms of giving them some advice on how best to handle their new plot.
Just experiment, experiment. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to make it perfect. So do communicate, do experiment, and do your research.
Don't bring outside soil, don't use pesticides, do ask questions, and be respectful.
Do taste things, engage with the garden, smell things that you've never tried before, and ask questions.
If you're a brand new gardener and you need help, or something didn't work or whatever, don't hesitate to go to another gardener and say, hey, can I ask you a question?
Don't harm living things. Everything in the garden has its place. And a lot of people can be scared of bees. We actually have a beehive in the garden, and we tell our kids, just like the plants are living, just like I'm living, just like you're living, like the bees have a home here, right? And so the bees are essential to the work we do in the garden. All of the pollination of the different vegetables and fruited vegetables we have in the garden, we need the bees for that.
I love the outdoors. I think that being in an urban setting, it's really important for us to go outside and to have access to spaces like this because, a lot of the city is filled with concrete. And those places end up being like heat islands, right? So you want to be able to have places where you can do water runoff retention centers, for example, where you can grow your own food, where you can just come and just sit in silence. I think having those spaces within the city is really important.
It just feels like people have your back. And it's nice to have friends, I think, in the garden. A lot of people have started to build on that camaraderie and morale. So yeah, I love to see that when you're in this type of garden versus at home.
We're visitors here, so it's important to be kind to the space that we're in. Kindness and respect goes way beyond being kind to the humans that occupy spaces like this, but it's kindness to the plants, it's kindness to the birds, it's kindness to the insects. And I think we have to just kind of go back to that way of thinking. And then, looking at urban gardening as a way to counter our food system that we have here that is very fast, that's very, let's grow as much as we can. I think that we can grow as much as we need. I think that is a better way of looking at it, and I think that's a lot of ways that a lot of the members of this community think about it. Yeah, and I really love this place. I really do.
I don't know, anybody can do this. I think that sometimes when you're looking at what is required for a community garden, right? Big, open space, sunny, no trees. I think that is becoming sparse and sometimes you're competing with priorities. And so I think even though maybe something is sustainable and strong, there may be competing priorities or competing interests that just, oh, well, community garden may not be the best use for that space. And so I do see that sometimes there is a threat of that, and that's when we call on our advocates. Like, make sure you go and advocate for this because we don't want it to go away.
In all of the communities around this area, all of them, there's a huge demand for community garden space. There's just simply not enough. This is tax-supported land, and it may not be as beneficial tax-wise, revenue-wise to a municipality. That's part of the problem. But there simply isn't enough community garden space in any of the communities around here.